This is the Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
I became radicalized and became what is now called a human rights lawyer in my first year at the university. There was a small number of black students, and even they were in different categories. Africans who were called natives, coloreds of mixed origin, Indians, people that came in the 19th century, in particular as indentured laborers from India to the sugar canes of the East Coast. The black students, including Mr. Mandela, were not treated properly. They could not take part in sports activities. They could not take part in the social activities of students. They were not allowed to be in the residence. They were to catch a train before 9 o'clock to go back to the locations, as they were called, because it was an offense to be in the urban area of Johannesburg. If you were black, you were arrested and you were kept in custody overnight, sometimes for as long as 48 hours, and brought to court, and you would be fined for being in the city. So that when we studied until 11 o'clock in the law library, our black fellow students watched the clock very carefully, and at about 20 to 9, they had to pack their books and run to the nearest train station nearby, so that they are at least on the train before 9 o'clock. I full-heartedly stood up and I said, if wanting equal treatment for my fellow black students made me a leftist, I was proud to be one. Next day's newspaper, the Transvaler, a headline about as big as this book, which is our Constitution, in Afrikaans, front page, linksgesind en trots daarop, leftist and proud of it. So said one George Bizos at the Great Hall of the university. Well, I think that the security police kept at least a couple copies of that front page and put them in the file. And that was paid to my ambition to become a South African citizen. I was refused citizenship, I was refused a passport, but somehow I survived it. I want to give you a brief outline of what it was to be not only a black man, but a person who actually challenged the moral authority of a government that discriminated so blatantly. The Bantu Education Act was used to close the best schools attended by black and colored and some Indian people in the country. They were church schools, Catholic, Anglican, Methodist, Lutheran. They had established schools, some of them as old as 100 or 150 years, which produced people like Nelson Mandela, Oliver Tambo, and I'm sorry to say, Mugabe. Those schools were closed down. Bantu education was introduced. Verwoerd became Minister of Education. And he said, it's no good teaching black people mathematics and science and things like that. It will only frustrate them. They are incapable of civilization, mark his words. And they are to be nothing more than hewers of wood and drawers of water. Better that we have schools of our own teachers, and black people have a language problem. They spoke their vernacular language. They learned English. It was difficult for them to learn Afrikaans. Decree by Dr. Verwoerd, maths and science is going to be taught in Afrikaans. None of the black teachers, never mind the pupils, were able to do it. They passed the Separate Amenities Act. And that gave the authority on anyone who has control of any public property, parks, swimming pools, theaters, you name it. You could put up a plaque and say, slechts for blankes, for whites only. 8,000 students didn't go to school on the first day that Bantu education came into being. Verwoerd decreed that this 8,000 people were not to be admitted to any school anywhere in South Africa forever. 100 teachers didn't turn up on the day that Bantu education started. Both did it by way of protest. Over 100 teachers were sacked. We had a mixed judiciary. We had some good judges who would respond to reasonable argument, but not all of them. The Appellate Division 5-0 decided, in the words of the judge that wrote the judgment, that the Group Areas Act is a social experiment that will no doubt bring a lot of good, and the future will show that. This is the sort of apartheid that we had to live in. There was detention without trial from 1962 onwards. You could be picked up because somebody in the police force thought that you were either a terrorist or you had information about terrorists. They could arrest you, first for a period of 90 days, and that was not enough. And the courts unhappily said 90 days can be repeated, because every 90 days is a new decision. And this cat and mouse game. Tomorrow you're going to go home. Your 90th day, he would walk out of the police station gate and someone would put his hand on. He said, "We are not satisfied with any statement that you have made and you withholding information. We are arresting." re-detaining him. Go to court and say that this is unjust. No, the court said it's all right. It's an interpretation which is reasonable, and having regard to the danger that this suspected terrorist, sometimes being nothing more than a teacher who said something, a young man was deemed to be a terrorist because he wrote a poem which he sent to his girlfriend as to how badly he felt with the situation that he found with him. Guilty of terrorism, 5 years imprisonment. A publication to his girlfriend. You know, there's a Greek writer called Kazantzakis. He said that you really cannot enjoy food if you haven't been hungry. You can't enjoy water unless you have been thirsty. And you don't know what freedom means until you have been properly oppressed. And we in South Africa, black and white, were in fact oppressed, and we thirsted, had a thirst, a hunger for freedom. Things became difficult for the regime. Eventually, in 1985, it was said by a journalist that people don't see the writing on the wall until they've got their back right against it. And this happened. I was privy to some of the early negotiations between the Minister of Justice and Mr. Mandela in a hospital ward where he just came to visit. He was Minister of Justice in prisons, so nothing unusual in the minister coming to visit Mr. Mandela. And the dialogue was started. They started making conditional offers to Mr. Mandela for his freedom. They were accustomed to dealing with lackeys in the black community who, for the sash of office, will make you president of a little pocket there with a sash of office and a car, and you'll have a chief justice of your own, and you'll have a parliament of your own. And they thought that he would be an easy customer to be persuaded. Well, he wasn't. He said, I will be the last political prisoner to be released in South Africa. And he kept his word, except in relation to some of the people that there was some doubt as to whether they were political offenders or not. It became apparent that fundamental change had to come about. And it did. He was released. Even before his release, the African National Congress's Legal and Constitutional Committee was busy writing out of the country, within the country, at American and British universities, jurists, particularly in the United States and Paris and London. There is going to be change. What is it that we want? I have here the preamble of the South African Constitution. Incidentally, this is it here. On the last count, 6.5 million had been printed. It's a popular document. We, the people of South Africa, Recognize the injustices of our past. Honor those who suffered for peace, for justice and freedom in our land. Respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it. United in our diversity, we therefore, through our freely elected representatives, adopt this Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundation for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by law. Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person, and build a united democratic South Africa able to take its rightful place in a sovereign state in the family of nations. The document was not the thoughts of a few lawyers in a small room somewhere. We went from village to village, town to town, wanting to know, what sort of president do you want? The one like the Americans have, or the French have, or the Prime Minister that the British have, or what is in Australia with the Governor General, or this, that, or the other. And we would listen to ordinary people. The trouble we had, the overwhelming opinion was that it should be a union, because apartheid meant partition, different rights, different principles, different sovereign governments. I don't think that there is any other state in the world's history that was proud to get rid of its population and give it freedom, they called it. You've got your own president. Look at the green sash of office. And the politically active people would say, yes, children have school captains as well. I mean, you know, that's, we want meaningful freedom. You don't know how much trouble we had in order to find a suitable name for the head of what you would call a state here, the federal situation that you have here. During the apartheid year, there were administrators. They were appointed by the cabinet and served the province at its will. That was a popular name among a lot of people. Administrator, yes, you know, the government will put somebody there and he will do that. There were a lot of objections, and it was thought that to borrow from apartheid a word for the second-tier government was not really. What about governor? Oh, no, it's going to go to his head. And he'll want independence. What is this business of governor? No, we don't want. Prime Minister. Oh, no, Prime Minister. No. Get his head bigger than that. We couldn't find an acceptable word. until one bright spark among us said, what about premier? I think that most people didn't know this French word, premier. And I said, yeah, okay, that will do, premier. And now the provincial heads are premiers. Do you want proportional representation or first past the post? I presided at some of these meetings, and they say, Comrade George, what did the Boers have? They had first past the post. And they really gave us a tough time. That's what we want. First past the post. Take it easy. Take it easy. In the Transkei, which is a predominantly black Xhosa, you will get 90% of the vote. One member of parliament. In Pretoria, you will get 49% of the vote, and the opposition will get 51, and you. But if you have proportional representation, the 90% in the Transkei will outweigh the 51% in Pretoria. That's clever. Yes. What did you call it? Proportional representation. That's what we want. There was a problem. The white Afrikaners and whites generally thought that there's going to be a black majority. Yes. And they were going to treat us as badly as we treated them. We had to persuade them that that would not be the case. And we established structures in this constitution of independent bodies. I think that I've told you enough for you to understand, and you have some knowledge of what we had to go through. South Africa is a troubled country. There was injustice in South Africa, sanctioned by law for over 3 centuries. Legality and fundamental human rights, all of which are in this constitution and have been copied by those who want to really live in a democratic, rights-orientated society. There are difficulties. We are trying our best. We are succeeding in certain respect, but in relation to education, health, land redistribution, the chasm between the very rich and the very poor, we're not doing particularly well. But we are trying. Another wise man said that nobody can be condemned outright for having tried and failed. Thank you very much for listening.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.